So there's that moment, which I think I've used this analogy before, but I think it's helpful. Like when you're driving a car, right? And most of the time we're driving a car, we're in sort of a low-key spaghetti mind driving thing, which is there's a little hum of internal dialogue. And somehow we stay on the road, which is kind of miraculous in a way. You could have 10 minutes where there's not even a really conscious sense that you're actually driving a 2-ton vehicle at 70 miles an hour. And then suddenly you go, ugh! Ooh, you know that little moment? It's very accentuated if you're actually falling asleep while you're driving a car. And you're sitting there going, I'll just close my eyes for a couple of seconds. It'll be okay. And you go, and you're wide awake again. So that little drama is playing out repeatedly in our meditation session, isn't it? I mean, we are kind of wandering off, and that has a certain feeling to it of being very familiar. Whatever we think about, in a way we're so used to it that we think of that as just like being present. But it isn't really completely. We might be just thinking about how we've been left out so many times, or, our life's not going well, or, gee, everything's great. Whatever your flavor is, your what I call room tone, the hum in the room of your mind. And then there's these moments of, coming to, and we take advantage of that by adding a little bit of a exclamation point to it, which is saying thinking, and then coming back to the breath. We kind of make a little delineation there. And this practice of shamatha meditation that we're doing is meant to increase the contrast between those kind of two mind spaces. With a slight, very slight bias towards the one where you're present. And I mean that literally, because if we put a heavy bias on that, which some people do, we tend to push too hard towards it and think of it as something we can manufacture, and something that we're frustrated that there's not enough of it. So one of the things I wanted to say tonight is that there's a second part to this practice, which sometimes isn't emphasized that much, which is the idea of making friends with spaghetti mind, James Joyce mind. Not really seeing it as the enemy, Many people who've tried to meditate see that as the enemy. They want to get rid of that. Does anybody here feel like that's the point? You did feel that way. To get rid of that. Kill it. Yeah. Get out the raid. Psst. But in this way of practicing, we take a look at that from a kind of, you could say, non-aggressive point of view, which is just, hey, that's happening. In fact, what is that? And one of the interesting things I think many people discover is it's nothing. It's not what you thought it was, because you thought it was everything. And our thoughts are just kind of like not made out of anything. There's a saying in one of the sadhanas that's practiced here: good and bad, happy and sad, all thoughts vanish into emptiness like the imprint of a bird in the sky. What thought have you ever had that didn't vanish into emptiness? And then recur, maybe. Maybe it recurs. But we're just noticing that quality for many of us for the first time, that thoughts are not solid. The very thing we're most preoccupied with, that we spend the most time negotiating with, dealing with, responding to, reacting to, our own mind generating these storylines, is actually not made of anything at all. I mean, we'll have a chance to discuss, but that's how it appears to be. But we're invested, When you invest in something, you could invest in a bad company, but you're invested at that point. So the approach is not to kill something that doesn't even exist in the first place, because then you've got to deal with that kind of aggression and control drama and manipulative quality, which is in a way much subtler, more deep-rooted. So when the thoughts arise, the suggestion here is to take a friendly, non-judgmental, open attitude towards that arising, to notice it, and, this is an important point, not try to blast it away and get free from it, because there may be some valuable information in there. You might learn something then